With the markets performing as poorly as they have been lately, we've been getting a lot of questions from federal employees about whether they should stop their TSP contributions. Many families are concerned with making a retirement plan contribution only to see that value go down because the markets are declining. It's a really great question, and today we're going to talk about what you need to know to be making a smart decision for you and your family, and the one circumstance where we recommend that you actually do stop making TSP contributions. Welcome back. This is thefedcorner.com, where we're building a community of resources to help federal employees make better financial decisions. Many people have sent us this question lately: do we stop making TSP contributions now that the markets have really started to have bad performance? For most people, the answer is going to be no, and there's a few reasons why. Provided that you have strong investments, you should look at a decline in the market like the stock market is on sale. It sounds a little ridiculous, but if you're still working and you have a long time to continue to be investing, what is the likelihood that those investments are going to return back up in value over time? And if you believe that they will, wouldn't you want to purchase them when they're lower in price? Our clients already know that I like to draw things out to illustrate a point, so let's look at this together. Let's assume for a moment that this blue line represents the price or value in the overall stock market. Understand that this is just an example. This is not representing anything. This is not promising anything. It just serves as an illustration to the point. As a federal employee, you're making TSP contributions into your account, and the markets are doing what they will do. Your performance is going to be subject to how you are investing in the markets. Let's assume that this line here is where we are today. Well, you may be watching your TSP investments fall in value, but if you continue to make TSP contributions, it may appear that you're actually losing money as you're putting money in when the markets are falling. But if you have a lot of time, so this is time going forward, your account value in your purchases at these moments, relative to what they have the opportunity of being in the future, is actually a really good thing that you're getting these investments at a much lower cost. This is something called dollar cost averaging. In fact, there's economic science that backs this up. Dollar cost averaging is a simple yet really effective portfolio management technique that allows an investor to get an overall better average price of all of their investments. This is when an investor slowly and methodically puts money to work in their portfolio or in the stock market in smaller chunks over time, rather than a large sum or bolus payment all at once. Wealth managers will use this strategy very frequently during volatile markets because, like I said, over time it allows you to grab investments and it reduces your overall average cost of the investments in your portfolio. We use this strategy regularly with our clients, and it can prove to be extremely effective if you are doing it correctly. You also have to remember that if you're continuing to make traditional TSP contributions, you are also getting tax deferral. And if you're making Roth TSP contributions, you're getting tax-free growth over time as well. Now, it's important to know there is always the potential that even though you're deploying capital as the markets are falling, that the markets will keep falling. So there is the risk that your account value and your contributions that went in will decline in value. If you have enough of a runway, this kind of volatility is less of a risk to you. But if you are retired, number one, you can't make TSP contributions anymore. But number two, volatility is a very big risk to anyone who's no longer earning an income and no longer contributing to their portfolio. We won't get into the details of that right now in this video because that's really more retirement planning, so we have other videos for that. But just understand the concept. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are circumstances where we do recommend that people stop their TSP contributions. If you're nearing retirement and your cash reserves are not somewhere between 6 to 12 months of your expenses, this is one of those cases where you really want to consider slowing down your TSP contributions so that that extra cash flow that you get per paycheck, you get to put towards a savings account to start building up that pile of savings. There's a couple of reasons for this. The first is that under ordinary circumstances, FERS retirement annuity does not kick in for a little bit of time before your application is actually adjudicated. Right now, FERS applications are actually very backed up. So we have seen circumstances where it's been as long as 8 or 9 months before a retired federal employee began receiving their first annuity. So during this period of time, you still have expenses that you need to meet with cash flow. If markets are volatile, you don't want to be selling from a portfolio that's declining to meet your short-term cash needs. That should have been planned out in advance. And remember, in our video about how to save your portfolio this year, we talk about how the TSP has a feature that does not allow you to select which fund to sell in order to make those withdrawals. If you haven't seen that video, we're going to include a link below. It's a really important one, so make sure that you watch it. So for your more immediate cash needs, you want to make sure that you have enough of a reserve in order to meet those needs, especially because the portfolio may be off limits, but also not too much, where now you're causing a cash drag on your portfolio. And this is important even if you plan to move your TSP into an IRA where you do have the flexibility to do what you need to do, because doing this kind of transfer sometimes takes a little bit of time, especially if you still need to develop a proper retirement and investment strategy prior to that. And finally, just remember that changing your TSP contributions may also change your tax circumstance. So make sure you're checking with your advisors before making any changes. And like I mentioned, this was a question from many of you. So if you have a question that you'd like us to address, put your question in the comments field below for a chance of it being featured in one of our videos. Or if you have a question about your personal circumstance, be in touch with us. One of our planners would be glad to be a resource to you. So we hope this was helpful to you. Consider subscribing to the channel to get more content like this, and we'll see you on the next one.